Hey guys, Kambra Potter here at the 2023 Wondercon in Anaheim, California. We are just about to meet a couple of the cast members and the creator slash showrunner of CBS's new series, True Lies. I know I can't wait to hear what Matt Nix, the showrunner, and Steve Howey and Omar Miller, two of the stars of the show, have to say, so stay tuned.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, man.
How's it going?
Why don't you first start off with how the show got put together? From the movie franchise.
Yeah. So I was approached by. I'd been working with McGee, the director McGee, and it was a long-time passion project of his. He was friends with James Cameron from doing the Terminator movie, and so he just always wanted to put it together. They tried a few times, and then he asked me if I wanted to take a crack at it. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And so we did, and then we were going to do it the year before. McGee was going to direct it, and then it got pushed for a year. I didn't think it was really going to happen, and then it did. And then McGee couldn't direct, so we brought in Anthony Hemingway to direct the pilot, and we shot it, and they picked it up. So that's how it happened.
I'm a big fan of Burn Notice.
Thank you. Thank you.
What is it about the spy story that makes you want to come back to it again and again?
It's funny. They're very different kinds of things in the sense that, Burn Notice was always like, you've seen movies about spies, that's not how it really is, it's really like this. And True Lies is like, all those movies you've seen about spies, it's just like that. I think I definitely enjoy the interplay of kind of secrets and deception, but more than anything, though, I think one thing that the two shows share is they're all about people who want to make the world a better place. I mean, they fundamentally have kind of a positive outlook. It's funny, in the whole era of television anti-heroes, anti-heroes were cool, and I was like, okay, but they're cool, but I like doing the heroes. Can we just do those? And so that's they definitely, the opportunity to do that is really a thing. And then the other thing is, ever since I was a little kid, my first stories that I wrote were action stories. I obsessively watched The Road Warrior when I was a kid. I was like, I want to race cars really fast and have cool people, and there's guns, and then this happens, and I was like an army man guy. And so writing spy shows is like playing with army men for a living. It's great. A lot of reasons. It's very focused on Harry and Howey, because you kind of write a big check in the pilot. It's about their marriage and all of these things. But over the course of the show, the 8th episode is just all about Git. And then, a lot of the show has been sort of building out the ensemble. And so, Luther and Maria get a lot more to do, starting basically with this next episode. And then that just builds out and out and out. And then another thing that I did a lot on Burn Notice, and I would, God willing, we get another season, and I would love to do on this, is really expand the ensemble out to bring Matt Lillard's character back, and Mrs. Myers, and all of these people, and we've made no secret of our desire to do that. I mean, and there's a reason Matt Lillard's character doesn't die in the end. It's we've got really fun plans for a lot of people, and we've got some great guest stars coming up who we're super excited about, let me put it this way. It will not be hard to see how they can come back. It's you can do the math. It's pretty easy. So, I think it's having a big ensemble on a show like this is great for a lot of reasons. Not least that, it keeps you from wearing your actors down to bloody nubs. And so, it's been super fun to explore the side characters. And I'd say basically, really starting with the 5th episode, which turns into a much more ensemble, expanded show. So.
And it becomes really your stamp on it, because it's a further departure away from what the film is to.
Right, exactly. I mean, just adding a team at all, but I guess I'd say it's a departure and it's not a departure. Like my feeling, I'll pitch you on it. Basically, it's my feeling is, what's the movie about, right? It's about this very relatable problem that these two people are having, that they resolve, through this big spy adventure, right? Well, going on with the show, it's the same thing, right? It's just the definition of what the family is expands. So it starts out, the family is just Harry and Helen, and then the family is, okay, well, it's Harry, Helen, and the kids. They don't know what's going on, but it's still the kids, right? It's Harry, Helen, the kids, and Luther and Maria. It's Harry, Helen, the kids, Luther and Maria, Gib. And Gib actually comes first, but his episodes are but and by the end, there are even other characters that we haven't introduced yet who are part of that family and part of that ensemble, with the idea that it just expands the kinds of issues that we can explore, issues of friendship, issues of work stress, stuff like that all play out on this big world spy stage.
So
there we go.
So my question has to do with their home life. They have two teenagers. I have two teenagers.
Very good. As do I have three, so there you go.
and they need me more than ever, which is like surprising to me that I'm like, well, you know how to do everything. Come on. So I was just wondering, like, how does that work out for them? When they're writing and they're creating what they're going off to do, and then I know the home life is already pulling them back.
Right.
Are we going to see more episodes where they're at home and maybe their spy life, comes closer to home?
The next episode? Yeah, I mean, the next episode really deals very directly with how things begin to impact the kids. And then as the season goes on, we begin to certainly by the end of the season, we're exploring those issues in a more specific way. They're sort of cavalier about like, bye, off we go again, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we realized, I shouldn't say we realized, but like by the end of the season, we had this big opportunity to play with like the kids at one point being like, you guys are gone a lot. Like, what's up? Like, this is kind of not cool. And they realize, yeah, it kind of isn't cool. Like, even though each individual explanation may be fine, like, I've got to go get an award, or we're going to an academic conference. At the end of the day, you are leaving your children home alone to eat microwave food again. And, that, like, yes, you're saving the world, but that also has an impact. And so, those chickens sort of come home to roost by the end of the season in a fun way. So.
I love how you credit not only James Cameron movie, but also the French movie that that the James Cameron movie was based on. Not a lot of people know that.
Well, that was, to be fair, we have a legal obligation to do that, but also, but I would say one thing that was important for me in thinking about that was like, people don't realize the movie is based on a French farce, right? And when you think about, like, I don't know, sometimes I'll be talking to people and you read something or whatever, and they'll act like, and it's fine, people have their opinions, but they'll act like we set out to make this, like, really realistic portrayal of, like, spies in America and how they work, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is an action comedy based on a French farce. You can be like, not my cup of tea. I totally get it, but we didn't like mess up and actually accidentally put in jokes. Like, it's and if you think about it, like, the movie is sometimes talking to people like, okay, let's just remember, the movie is about a salesman who's really a spy, whose wife is in love with the spy, who's falling in love with a spy, who's really a salesman. Like, how likely is that? Is that just a thing that happens, or is that like one of those things where you put it together and you go like, okay, audience, let's go with this, right? And so that's kind of what we're doing, So hopefully people can receive it in the spirit in which it is created.
Real quick, sorry. Are there any plans to bring Bruce or Jeffrey or Gabby as a cameo?
Wow. You know, it's funny. I'm still in touch with all of them. We explored Bruce. He was busy.
Okay.
And Gabrielle, I would love to find something for Gabrielle. She doesn't act much anymore. She's like, she's sort of the queen of Miami now. And so, but yeah, no, she's terrific. And Jeffrey, of course, is busy. Like he's got stuff going on. But yeah, no, he would be sort of the ideal bad guy for a True Lies. If I could ever
Make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah. I'm happy for his success, but I always want. Well, actually, even like Kobe Bell, like it's another show, and I'm like, I saw him and I was like, dude, just get fired or something. Actually, Omar. I was hanging out with Omar. Omar and Kobe Bell both studied with my high school acting teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Fun fact.
You find
All
that
right. Thank you.
the show is turning into kind of like a parody of The Americans?
I mean,
In no direct way.
I prefer a funhouse mirror version of The Americans. I mean, you obviously can't do the show and not be aware of The Americans.
Yeah.
I think, it's a fantastic show. I watched the show, and I'd be lying if I said that there weren't episodes where I was like, what would the Americans do with this? What if we did the opposite of that? So yeah, absolutely. It's but they're exploring a lot of these same issues in a very serious, grounded way, and we are doing it in a not very serious, not very grounded way. So yeah, fantastic show. All right, cool.
Mayhem and chaos every day. Every day you turn on the news, everything. It's just, man, life is taking a spin for the wild nowadays. Try to bring people towards the light, towards the positivity. It's kind of what we're doing with the show. I think the show is best when it takes itself not so seriously. I think that when the characters can laugh at themselves, and when the predicaments that we get ourselves into make us laugh, the good guy, bad guy thing is one thing, and the action and all that is one thing, but the lightness of real life idiosyncrasies between even the highest level of stakes, nuclear bomb stakes, but somewhere in their mind they're thinking about the fact that they got sewage coming out of the sink. Like that's it, you know what I mean? That's a real life. You can't get around it. This is just part of life. Nobody's life is perfect. Yeah, you have to compartmentalize, but you can't act like it's not real,
So how many episodes can we expect Gib to be in the middle of the action compared to Gib in the middle of the van?
I think you're going to get about 3 or 4 appearances with Gib on the scene.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a massive shootout scene that happens that was wild to be in real life, because we're trying to deliver lines while they're shooting and blowing stuff up, and didn't require much acting. It was just they were really squibs and explosions and all kind of stuff. But it's interesting because the role itself changes. There's a dynamic component that changes, and you guys will see that because Gib kind of goes from team member to team leader in certain ways, and in that kind of puts him deeper into the van. But then when we get towards the end of the run, you'll see there's some. We take the formula and throw it on its head. It's just completely different. And I'm interested to see what the reaction is to that, because it's not going to be what people expect. I think that towards the end of the episodes 11, 12, 13, it's a whole different ballgame. And this is the hard part of the show, is that was trying to figure out tone. Because between when we shot the pilot and we started filming the series was about 11, 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's, if you guys sat at the table all day, every day for 6 months, it would be a different set of interviews than if you guys came together once a month.
Yeah.
Because you guys would learn about each other, learn how to play off of each other in the whole game. Same way for us. And what we ended up doing was we learned more about each other on a personal level and more about what we were all capable of on a performance level, which included Matt, the showrunner. So I think he got to watch some footage and say, oh, okay, Ginger's good at this, Omar's good at this, Steve is good at this, and then you can lean into that. So I've been telling everybody I anticipate for the second half of the season to cook a lot more than the first half. A lot of establishing and foundational stuff to start, homage to the film and all of the kind of respect paying and ring kissing that we needed to do. And now I think in the second half of the series, the season, you get to see more of us doing our own version of this.
I want to follow up on that. You're talking about building, the chemistry between the cast.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it looked like you were filming in Louisiana.
We filmed the pilot in Louisiana, but then we filmed the series in Atlanta.
Okay.
And for my money, they can keep them both. I'm not. I got no interest in the South. My parents are from the South, and I realized why they migrated to California. If I was the one paying for the show, then they wouldn't be there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we got
I went to college in Atlanta. So
oh, there you go. Where'd you go?
Georgia Tech.
Okay, yeah, right there, right in it, right downtown. Yeah, we shot right. Our studio was just north of there, just north, right where the freeway splits, right there off of Monroe. And yeah, we got a long way to go in the country. Let's just say that, a long ways to go.
Well, I live in Orlando, and it's great, But it's a little pocket in Florida, though. I mean, the rest of it's like,
Yeah. And then you got the Mouse House over there too. They have a specific influence.
Yeah.
Everywhere they go.
Well, welcoming back, I guess, according to Wikipedia, this is where you were born, is Anaheim.
No, and I don't know why they say that. For a long time, Wikipedia said I was born in Detroit. When 8 Mile came out, Wikipedia said I was born in Detroit. Now Wikipedia says that I was born in Anaheim. I was born in LA. I went to high school in Anaheim Hills, though. I did do that, but somehow or another that translated into me being born in Anaheim.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't know who runs Wikipedia, and I think that, honestly, that's what I was about to say. I think that you can just go and be like, yeah, Omar's from Djibouti. And there's nobody they don't call me to find out about it. I don't know what that is. But I am happy to be back. I mean, I come to a lot of baseball games at Angel Stadium, and I still have a ton of friends that I went to school with in Anaheim Hills.
But your character, we're getting little Easter eggs, kind of a little bit about you. With this 5th episode that's coming up, we get to some background about what you're up to, maybe on your days off.
A little bit.
You're still behind the desk, behind the computer.
Yeah.
And Matt told us that we're going to get to see a little more about your personal journey.
A lot. There's a lot more. I think this is what I mean. When we first started the series, the first 4 episodes were heavy on establishing Harry and Helen as the couple and the premise that she just found out that her husband of 17 years has been deceiving her, and she's still having a hard time processing it. Second half of the season, she's a full-blown spy, and she's more into what that entails. So that gives us time in the show to go explore other people on the team's lives. And I mean, they did a great job because they got Keith David to play my father in one of the episodes that I just couldn't have been happier about. We had a blast. I mean, I grew up watching him. And you go into a deeper background story of why Gibb is the way that he is, why he's a bit more of a lone wolf in the whole song and dance. And I think that all of this ties into what I'm talking about getting the second half of the show becomes a little bit different. Gibb might sneak up on a girl every now and then. He might have a little action that, even though he did protest so much about Harry, well, that's why I don't have a wife, blah, blah, blah. I think that you get to see Gibb with the lovesick, the Goo Goo Gaga eyes himself later on. And that's all of this kind of stuff, it layers the show. And with so much content out there nowadays, it's hard to launch a show. So the idea that we're having 13 episodes, if we can get the audience to rock with us for 8 or 9 hours worth of programming, we either got you or we don't. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing. I think it really started with what you saw last Wednesday. If you saw it, with Matthew Lillard and what he came and did. You know, the show is continuing to evolve, and I think we get more towards our cruising altitude in the coming weeks. I really believe that.
You get the sense that the show will get to the point where each mission isn't necessarily cut and done in one episode. It can maybe go into 2, maybe 3.
Well, you're going to see that when it comes to the finale. The finale, I do believe it's a 2-part finale. I haven't seen the finish yet. I don't know if it's finished yet, but it's a 2-part episode, and I think that we may see more and more of that. You know what I mean? So it's like we got more and more. There's room to grow. It just depends. I think there's going to be a lot of what the audience feedback is going to determine a lot of where we go. But obviously, before we finished filming, we didn't have any audience feedback. We just had what we were trying to do out there.
I mean, it's end of the world stuff, so it's always tough to see it, wrapped up in 45 minutes. So
yeah, and that's what we want it to be. You want it. It should feel like a little miniature action film every time that you watch it, and it should be a slice of escapism. Like I keep saying, we're not curing cancer.
One question I have is that you've spoken about sort of the time you had with the character, and as well as like the time apart from shooting the pilot to actually doing the show. So what were some things that you got to learn about your character, or maybe your process as you were going through this with this character, sort of over that extended period of time?
I really let it go during the hiatus period. Because when you make a pilot, you don't know if it's going to series or not. So the last thing you need to do is be fully invested in it in a way that's going to make it like, ooh, and then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you get a phone call that says, well, we're not moving forward. You're unemployed. So for me, when we started filming, I think that I learned how important it was to create the dynamic between Harry and Gib and Helen, so that you can have a bit more structure for the audience. Because what I learned was the way that Gib is used throughout the episodes is he's almost the eyes and the ears of the audience. When he's in the van watching missions, he's narrating for the audience the level of threat, the level of importance, the level of, if Gib is really worried, the audience should be worried. If Gib is joking around, then, maybe things are going to be all right. So I learned how to harness that with deciphering it through the script and then portraying it on the camera. Film, then you know the premise of the film and thus the premise of the show. But unlike the film where the climax was her finding out and then what happens after that, we get over that in the pilot. So after we got over the homage to the film, now we have this situation where we really need to inform and educate the audience as to what we're about to do. As far as the show goes, not each episode, but hey, this is the structure of our show. This is how it works. These guys are a team. This person does this on the team. This person does that on the team. So that we can inform the audience of what to expect. And then they can make a decision as to whether or not they like what they see. So for me, it was about translating that and getting that on camera. So that when people are watching, they can count on Gib as someone who's stable, possibly less dramatic than what's going on in the married couple's lives. But he also is the eyes and ears of what's going on mission.
I have kind of a general question for you. What advice would you give aspiring actors?
Make your own stuff. Be persistent and make your own stuff. I speak to kids sometimes, like I speak to kids at college. When I was in school, I went to school to be a baseball player. Then I stumbled into the theater chasing a girl. And I ran into a professor who really took me under his wing and really, really helped me understand what was the craft of acting and storytelling. One of his friends was played played Isaac on The Love Boat. Was Ted Lang. And he came and spoke to our class. I wasn't the biggest Love Boat fan, but I knew who he was when I was a kid, you know what I mean? And it meant a lot. So whenever I speak to people now, the dynamic now is totally different than the dynamic was when I first started. There's more technology at this table than there is for films like The Godfather. You know what I mean? And in that empowers you as a creative to make stuff. Now the world is about bringing Hollywood to you as opposed to you going to chase down Hollywood. So if I had advice for aspiring actors, it would be act as often as possible, because you'll get better, and then make your own stuff, because you'll bring the eyes to you, because it's possible now. Thank God for the nerds, because the nerds made the technology that made it possible for us to, to be able to create our own stuff.
Let's do one more question and we'll move to the next table.
Awesome. Can I talk about your voice acting career? You kind of
Please.
turned into kind of voiceover legend.
Oh man, did I get blessed? How crazy is that?
The Teenage Mutant Turtles, and then my favorite is Finn. I mean,
Oh man,
and,
the summer vacation movie was so good.
It was so good.
I really liked that one. Like outside of myself, I
Yeah.
really liked that Star Wars Lego summer vacation. It was really good.
The Christmas special was great too.
that was
we
fun.
finally get to see Finn train as a Jedi, which is awesome. We
Yeah.
got to see that in the movie. So.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's something I always wanted to do. I used to sing the Ninja Turtles theme song on the bus on the way to school when I was a kid, for the original series. And the idea of getting to play the voice of Raph is a blessing like I cannot explain to you guys. I wear my knees out every night thanking God. It's just so crazy. I do one of the voices on the Rugrats now. Let me tell you something. I must have did about 1,500 voiceover auditions before I got hired.
Oh.
I could not get arrested for voiceover work for a long time. And then when it opened up, man, did it open up. Really interesting. Thanks for that. Yeah, and then back to back, a bunch of really like heavy, iconic stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like it wasn't like, oh yeah, go do the side thing. It was like, no, you're the guy.
You're the big guy.
Cool, and I love it because I'm a goofball. So cartoons, I was raised on cartoons. So I'm, cartoons and video games. That's my generation. Yeah. So I'm all about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully you see me at the con for another voice soon.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Go. Well, my first question.
We're gonna go around.
What's it like getting out from something like being behind the bar and of Shameless, and then getting into like real stunts and kind of
Way more work. Shameless was a warm duvet, satin sheets, just a bowl of ice cream, whatever, chocolates, a little champagne. That's what Shameless was.
some sweaty sheets too.
That's disgusting. But you're right. That was something completely different. True Lies was a lot of work, hard work. Careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I've always wanted to do action comedies. I grew up with it. I grew up watching True Lies the movie. It was hard, but it was a lot of fun. But it's hard work. It is not. I have so much more respect for these icons that are doing their thing. We all know who they are, but they put in so much work, and they're way more disciplined than I am. And it takes a lot of discipline to not let your body break down, because it's already exhausting memorizing lines, reading the script, trying to tell the story, trying to find the nuance of these scenes, if there's humor, if there's drama, whatever that is. It takes a lot of energy to put yourself in front of the camera and to be charming and not to look like a dork. To do that on top of with the physicality of the stunts was just like, I was like, I would go back home after some days and I'd be like, am I okay? Like, I couldn't tell if I was okay. I go, am I in pain? And then Ginger would like, you need to take an Epsom salt bath. And I go, I don't think that's it. And I would, it would be fine. But it was just new. It's like training for a marathon. You don't know what it is until you're like, oh my God, you're on the 20th mile, and you're like, having conversations with yourself, about yourself, to yourself, you're going to quit. You're going to stop. No, we're not. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep going. I think he should quit. I'm not going to quit. And that's what it was. Each episode was a sprint within a marathon. Episode 2, sprint into the next one. So, what a learning experience. But again, careful what you wish for, because he's just my kid.
Can you go further on that a little bit about between those episodes, like the choreography involved in
like the stunt choreography? Yeah. Well, so I was a competition rifle pistol shooter before for a few years. One of my mentors, Taryn Butler, trainer of the Stars, supplies all the guns for True Lies in the TV show. Also supplies all the guns for John Wick. So there is this community. It's kind of been isolated out, obviously, with like the tragedies from guns. It's highly dangerous. It is a very fast appreciating skill set, and it takes a tremendous amount of respect and care because of how dangerous these tools are. I trained in Muay Thai a little bit, trained in boxing just because I talk shit a lot. And, sometimes things happen, and I got a little bit of an ego on me, and so I was like, I need to know how to defend myself. So that happened over the past couple decades. So the director, Anthony Hemingway, knew this about me, and so he wanted me because he knew I could do this. He knew I could crack a joke. He knew I could punch the dude. He knew I could shoot the gun. So let's bring him in to do this. For me, it was exciting and terrifying because we're making the TV version of an iconic film. I have to do a character that one of the most famous action superstars to ever be on the silver screen. Like, I have to do that? Like, what? Me? So that was no pun intended, a Herculean effort to, and I'm not an Austrian bodybuilder. You know what I mean? I work out, I like to do that, but I'm not on that level. And also for this, I didn't want to be all buff because I didn't want to be like I was genuflecting to him or his status. So I was like, Harry will just be tall, a little slender, but he'll still have the athletic ability of an international super spy. But yeah, the stunts were incredibly hard. It was really amazing to learn how to do on-camera fighting, which is a dance choreography. It's a whole different thing from fighting. Because I know how to throw a punch, I know how to throw a jab, I know how to throw a hook, and it looks nothing. Because I would look back on playback, and it looked like I was in slow motion. And I would be sweating. I'd be like, I just kicked the shit out of those dudes. And I look back on it and I go, this looks awful. Why am I not doing that? And then the stunt guys would do it, and they would have just a different movement. It was like a whip. So you punch, whip it back, and it's like, wow. I went to the John Wick 4 premiere.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie.
They should have a trigger warning before it because these stunts just kept going, and then it is amazing, like how Keanu Reeves can do what he does his stunts. He's rolling people, he's flipping people, and he's still like, he's Neo. He's the one. He's the chosen one.
Now, I love that episode with Matthew Lillard.
The best.
Obviously Wolf is a recurring character, if you will, and the dynamic fits into the whole couple, Harry and Helen. There's like always sort of life triangle possibility, if you will. Talk to me about because that dynamic is also interesting part of the show, not just the action part. That Helen, Harry, and the family dynamic with the teenagers. Talk to me about the challenges of creating that on screen for you.
Well, the reality is that this guy was recruited out of college into the CIA.
Yeah.
And he's been lying to his family for 17 years. He's lying to his wife for 17 years. He's been lying to his kids for however they became aware of it. One of my, I don't say problems or issues, but one of my considerations that I was having issues with is how can you justify being a spy, an international spy, with all that entails. The death, the espionage, the sneaking around, and then go back to the family. How do you compartmentalize that? How is he doing that? Because there are some people that are doing this. We don't know them, or maybe we do. But they can compartmentalize that. They can put that there, and then put this over here, and then still fall asleep at night.
Yeah.
How do you do that? So that made me just what is this mindset? So I looked into it a little bit, and I just wanted to have Harry have his focus be the family. He knows how to do the spy stuff. He's confident with the spy stuff. He knows how to kick ass. He knows how to save the day. He knows how to do what needs to be done to save the world. He doesn't know how to save his marriage. He doesn't know how to have his kids like him. He brings them snow globes and hats that they don't like. He doesn't know how to communicate to them. So his insecurity comes from the family because I think he's that. And so once that clicked was where I was like, okay, I know how to play this guy because I'm a family guy. My kids are here; they're next door. So when it was on a mission, Harry was focused. Here we go. Let's do this. Blah blah blah. When it comes to the kids and the family, it's a little bit like, hi. Oh, obviously you can't play it to that extreme because then it's just weird. So I was just trying to play with these levels. I was like a sound engineer with different levels, trying to find what works, what didn't. Sometimes it worked in better scenes than others. Sometimes it worked in better episodes. Sometimes there was a better moment. You see it. I see it. I felt it.
Yeah.
There's just these ups and downs where it's like, yeah, that worked. No, that didn't work. And so we kept doing what worked, but tweaking it. Hopefully we'll have more to do because I think our last episode was kind of fun, special. That's one to see. But we have so much humor. Ginger Gonzaga is one of the funniest people I've ever met. She's hilarious. So we need to let her fly. We need to get Omar out of the van and more scenes personal. Because the pilot scene with him and I love because one, we're face to face. And so it's nice looking at somebody this way and not that way. So now we're face to face. And then he's giving me the heat, which I love. I love his energy and his intensity. And I was like, she's coming to Paris. And he's like, not to mention, a lot of people are eating the cheese. Right? He's already got a line. And so that energy helped us. It helped the show. It helped, definitely helped me. So yeah, it's a focus on the family and not so the missions. The missions come easy, but there's so much more to. I want Harry just to have a scene at the grocery store, like he's never been to the grocery store, and he's just like, why are there so many cereals?
Thank you.
Love that. I have a general question for you. What advice would you give an aspiring actor, other than don't suck?
Well, I'll give you what my mom gave me. My mom has many Carla-isms. Her name's Carla. Shout out, Mom. I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro before I get to that because there's a lot to it. So I am a child of acting teachers. My dad taught acting for 40-some years. He passed away a couple of years ago. R.I.P. Pop. But and my mom is a current acting coach. People buy what you sell. People buy what you sell. So what are you selling? And it takes a lot of responsibility to be an actor because you have to be able to absorb everything humanity can throw at you, and you have to take it with a smile. And some people don't, they have their shield up, and you're like not even going to break it, so it doesn't matter. Some people would want it, absorb it. It depends on the person, but also people buy what you sell. When you're on stage, you do not have to be that person on stage, but you have to be somebody off of it. And a lot of times people get hired not because of what they do on stage, but because of who they are in between it. They're just great. They're gracious. They're lovely. You want to be around them. They have an energy. And they're also really good actors, but they would be really good singers, artists, whatever that is. Host, chef. So it's hard to answer, but you have to film yourself. You have to be on stage. You have to get in front of people. Because everybody knows what good acting is when you're in the audience looking up at a stage, looking at somebody and the lights go on, we all know what good acting is. Everybody does. But it's so hard to know what you're doing and to do it confidently when those lights do come on. Because we all go, I don't know where my hand is. When I'm acting, I just don't know where my hand is. And then everybody's like, it's right in front of your face. And you're like, I go, you say that, but I don't know where it is. And that's what actors do. It's like we get in our own way and we think, because we're raised to like, shush, stop making a scene. Don't do that. Sit in your chair. Listen to the teacher. Listen to your parents. Don't be extraordinary. Don't be amazing. Don't be all these different things. So you go on stage and you're like, I want to be an actor. It's like, well, I don't know. Gene Hackman said, if you've had a good life, you'll have a hell of a time being an actor. There's something to that. There's something to that. So to each his own, but a lot of people who've had great lives have become great actors. A lot of people have had shitty lives and become great actors. So it doesn't, And what is a great actor? Does that mean you're a working actor or you're an award-winning actor? There's people who are amazing and they don't have any awards and no one knows who they are and they never get hired. What is the difference that gets somebody hired? I think you have to convince the people who are going to hire you that you are the right person. You have to convince them. People buy what you sell. So you have to walk in way before. Sometimes there's more acting from the door to the chair or the Zoom than there is in the actual performance of the scene that you're doing.
All right, guys, there you have it. Be sure to catch True Lies on CBS or Paramount Plus, out now. I'm Kambra Potter for That's My Entertainment, and that is my entertainment. What's yours?